We're going to take a little ride out this way, down to the streams, get a view of the lakes. We started in Sayville at the end of Indian Head Drive, just back there. And we're going to probably exit in Bayport somewhere. Well folks, I'm a little sad. I've been in New York for 2 weeks now and I'm about to head back to California. We're in Souci Lakes Park. This is what most people used to incorrectly refer to as Camp Edie. This area was just preserved land. Now it's actually called Souci Lakes Park. The county decided that developers were encroaching too much on the land, being able to buy little parcels in the legal state it was in before, so they made it a park so it's preserved. But it was one of the big misconceptions around town was always that all of these public lands like this, they had fire roads that were gated. People assumed the gates meant you couldn't come back here. The gates just meant you couldn't drive back here. Yeah, and these films were shot over a few days in the end of July, between the 10th and 22nd of July 2015. There's going to be clips from different times jumbled in. We might go kind of backwards here, just to warn you what's going on. So I'm having my last bagel here, my last New York bagel. A quick note of, if you like hiking videos, take a look at my future channels. Those guys make a lot of videos in incredible places. I only make a few videos so much. I don't expect to be put into the feature channels of other people because I just don't have the quantity. So I'm riding my mountain bike. Put on almost 60 miles. I didn't have the odometer running the whole time I was here. Put on quite a few miles while I'm here. It's so flat. As you can see, this whole area, it's like a scrub oak forest, versus if you saw my Sears Bellows video, which is a pine barrens. This is scrub oaks. There are some pines, but it's white, black, and other kinds of oaks. Lots of little low greenery, and the trees only grow not very high because the soil is, there's not much actual soil, it's sand. It's so much sand. You can see lots of trees. We're just out there, and the Parks Department blazed quite a few nice new trails through here. See here, we've run into a fence. This is the edge of the Girl Scout camp. Up ahead there's a hole in the fence and you can take the trail through the camp, but it's summertime, so there's probably Girl Scouts, so we're not going to do that. Out this way you can see some gentle, very gentle hills. This is about as slopey as it gets around here. Here you can see the ground is very sandy. And there's some pines. Also, we're getting closer to the water. Soil's a little better in the pines. You get a little more water and nutrients. So the trees are a tiny bit bigger. They all look like saplings, but these are just as full as it gets. Here we are at one of my favorite spots. This bridge and several like it are the improvements that the Park Service has made. This old pipe goes about another mile up that way. It gets broken apart another couple hundred yards and then it is complete again, and we're pretty sure it used to start. I'll show you where it used to start. Basically this area was one large lake that was cut apart into several smaller lakes so that they could have cranberry bogs here. And you can see out there is it's just about a maybe 4 or 5 foot wide little dam that goes across the stream, and then there's a little lock that allows the water to flow through. And each one of these ponds is only a couple feet deep, and a long time ago, maybe 1800s, they were cranberry bogs. This pipe, I mean, we don't really have a good explanation. There used to be a square of concrete here, so this was the end of it. It just ended there. And maybe it was just to contain the lake from up there, but also around here, this is all just groundwater. When you go up to where the mouth or the headwaters of this stream are, all you're going to find is a drainage pipe coming out of the highway that's about a mile that way. And then there's a little bit of water, and you'll see. All right, well, this will give you a good idea. Here we have our flow. You can see how much water's flowing there. It's a good couple inches deep. And when we go up north of this a little bit, you'll see there's almost no water. Basically, the ground just keeps coming down, and the water keeps coming in from the water table and piling up until you'll see. We'll also check further south at Lotus Lake, and you'll see how much water ends up flowing. Like, there's not, the flow just south of here is much greater than this. It's seeping in from all sides. As the elevation drops, the water table keeps pouring into this stream, filling it up. And what I like most about this little spot, besides that it's a little concealed and just very few people come here, but we've got a nice view as well, and a place to sit. Although, see, it's not as good anymore. You used to have a nice bench almost on the end of this pipe that would kind of elevate you and let you get a better view. Some of these trees have grown in a little bit over the 20 years I've been coming here, so. Now we're on the Bayport side of the stream. We're in the woods. You can just barely see a pole out there. That's the edge of the Bayport side of the Girl Scout camp. There's a Bayport neighborhood out that way. And then we've got quite a bit of woods. Yeah, Long Islanders, especially people in the area, should really get out here and enjoy this. Bugs aren't too bad as long as there's a light breeze. You know, bring your bug spray. Check for ticks. You can hear the highway in the distance, but it's not too bad. You'll get a lot of airplanes from the Bayport Aerodrome is straight out that way. You get the small planes, which, you know, it can get a little tiresome at times, but also you kind of get some neat views of planes if you go far enough out that way. You get some interesting views of the airplanes coming right over you. Yep, there's some tires from when people used to build dirt bike ramps out here back in the 70s and 80s. This was mostly used by kids with dirt bikes, but you're not going to get away with that anymore. It's very illegal. They'll take your dirt bike. Alright, we'll go back down and I'll show you some more of the stream. You can stop most of them, but you can't stop all of them. There's, I don't know how well it's showing through in the video, but there's a nice jump still in there, still there. Doesn't look like it gets used a whole lot. There's the old fire road, but yeah, people still bike and stuff. Technically, there's no sign that says I can't ride a mountain bike, but this is not a mountain bike trail. If you're out here on a bicycle, you know, take it easy. Don't run anybody over. Of course, you're not going to see very many people. I usually see one or two at the most. And of course, now it's a weekday. I'm out here on vacation, so I'm seeing nobody. Old woofty-doos. These are all up and downs worn in from dirt bikes from years and years ago. And we're going to curve back down. It's not a huge park. I mean, it's tiny in terms that I'm used to, but it sure is big enough to get away from it all. You could easily do, you know, 3 or 4 hours of walking back here without seeing anybody and without seeing any houses or anything. So now we're at the north end of that pipe. As far as I've ever been able to tell, it goes almost to where we were earlier, but there it is broken in the middle somewhere. And as far as I've ever been able to figure out, the original beginning of the pipe right here, it had a concrete around it, I'm imagining, but there's zero evidence of any more concrete pipe up that way. It's high summer, it's a little dry this year, so there's not a whole lot of water here, but at most normally this would be full and it would trickle across here into there. But now you can see that's dry swamp. We are literally, we must be a couple hundred yards north of where I showed you that water flowing. And you see here, stagnant. So it's just the ground drops and the water table seeps into this little, I don't even know what you want to call it, depression. You know, it's like it's not a canyon, it's so small, but this is what the water table just seeps into it as the land keeps dropping, and that's how the lake exists. Our water table is so full and so high here that it just comes out of the ground. It's not really even like a spring, it's just like a seep all along the whole way. So that's a pretty good look at this side. Now I'm gonna figure out how to ride around to the Bayport side. Not really sure what's going on here, but this is one of these odd situations for people to understand a little better. The path goes through the fence. There's a hole in the fence. We go through the hole in the fence. We don't worry about, am I allowed to do this? You're allowed to do it. And if you're not, plead ignorance. Be nice about it. Everything will be fine. Nobody's gonna care. This goes through. But try to remember where that is. That fence, I think there are other holes in it. Oh, and this is why. Because this area, this has been dead for years and years. When I was coming back here in the late 80s, this was brand new. The fence that we just went through, it surrounds this development that never happened. So here's a development that never happened. They plowed the streets. The streets have become a mess of whoop-de-doos from dirt bikes. I'm gonna keep going that way, I think. The aerodrome is right over there. So you can go that way and view the airplanes if you want. I mean, if you want to avoid this whole thing, then you know when you came to that fence back there with the hole in it, you could just turn around. But yeah, and then this goes out to Church Street. And they did finally, in the last 10 years, build some stuff out over there. There's another road attached to this that did finally get developed. But they cleared this out for development in the late 80s and never built it. Let me try and find one of the funny things. See the dirt bikes. Here we go. They got as far as putting in fire hydrants and never put a road in. Those have been there since at least 1988. It's 2015. So, yeah, I'm gonna take this little berm over here and head out to Bayport. This will dead end into a neighborhood at some point. Actually, I think this just cuts across this loop. All of this was slated for development. This is part of why they made a park back there. This technically somebody's dream might get realized someday. This was a lot of money invested and never realized. Now here we go. This section got paved. It's even got street lights, but there's no bulbs. The development never happened. Looks looks like there's one more cut through. I'm gonna take that, and then I'll end up at Church Street, or I think I'm actually gonna end up, I think at this, yeah, no, Church Street should be right up there. That's gonna angle me back into Bayport, and I'll head back into Lotus and show you a little more of the other end of Souci. This ended with a little uphill berm. That got me winded. That's a fire road. They probably don't maintain it much because it stays wide enough, and the fire department has these trucks that'll just, they have a huge cage over them. Stump jumpers can easily bash through any of that. But this berm, it's obviously part of the development of that office park, which is the one of the few things that did get built. So all of this is a couple square miles out here that was slated to be turned into office parks and housing. It never happened, so for now it's still wild. Long Islanders might really want to consider trying to incorporate this section past the fence into the park, preserve it. This is where your groundwater comes from. You'll never run out of water, but if you don't protect it, you won't be able to drink it. Ah, confusion. So that was the dirt road. We got a sump over here that never got built. It's so flat around here, they put in holes for the storm drains of the neighborhoods to drain in. Here we got two fences and an alleyway. I bet you that used to go somewhere, but I don't really know where it might come out. This is the edge of the aerodrome. You don't cross that fence or you get in big trouble. So I had crossed this. There was a cut through, and then I tried to use the cut through and it dead ended at a fence. And over here, I'm not sure we can get out this way. We'll find out. Here's the sidewalk that's to nowhere. And I'm gonna check this exit and see if this will get me out into civilization again. So that was the road we were on, the paved section, and here's the trail right around the fence. Oh folks, that didn't work either. So yeah, you gotta do a little slightly clandestine move. Looks like this was the hole and it's been repaired. Yeah, that fence is brand new and it's all the way there. Let me see if I can get my bike under here. Yeah, I'll be able to. I'm just gonna go this way. Okay, so if you're on foot, you probably don't even want to come out this way at all. But if you're on a bike looking for a through ride, it's possible to squeeze under there as long as you're not a fat slob. And then from over here, you can see, now we can see the little plains out there. And we'll just head out that way. I was pretty much trapped behind the fence behind this place. And that's what we got out, and now we're at Church Street in Bayport, downtown Bayport. Montauk Highway south is that way. Sunrise Highway that way. So you could come down here and park and go in if you want to crawl under a fence, but wouldn't really suggest it. You can park at the end of Ronald Lane, at the end of Indian Head Drive, and there's also a parking lot on Broadway Avenue just north of the fire department station. There's a small parking lot. Remember that industrial park we got stuck in is down there. Well, there must have been another trail coming this way that I didn't take. And here's a park access. Way down at, we're on Church, and Nichols Road is right over there, and the highway is also, Sunrise Highway is right there. There's not much parking here, but there is some. And so here's our access. So let's go back in this way, and this should be, so this way there is a way all the way across the park into Bayport, and then you could just take this down into Bayport. And they definitely have a little gate on the fence there to prevent dirt bikes from getting through it. Oh, very nice. Seeing some trail markers. It's part of the larger white trail. Oh, look where we are. That didn't take very long. And now we're back at the spot where the road splits in Bayport, leads to the Bayport neighborhoods. I'll show you a little bit more up ahead here. But I gotta go down some regular streets to get there. Oh, there's some guys doing some pole work. Hey, these guys are clearing the trees off of the telephone poles. So on a bicycle, there's a guy coming the wrong way on the wrong side of the road. To get into Bayport, up ahead, there's an intersection. I'm gonna bear to the right. So this is Sylvan Avenue I went down. If you're in a car, you'd have to continue on Church. You can't turn down here, but on a bicycle it was okay. And this is what those machinery is working on. Out here, we have some smaller transmission lines. And oh, it smells nice. The crews have to go through because in the summer because it grows rapidly out here. But yeah, there's a nice view of trees. We got to Sylvan Ave Elementary School. Cut off Sylvan, now I'm another block to the west, heading towards Montauk Highway. I can see Montauk Highway is right up there. Now this is a hiking video to show people how to go through Souci and everything, but you know, hopefully for locals and people far away who wonder what the area looks like. The South Shore, Central Long Island, it's pretty much all of Long Island looks like this. But also here's a little plaza that's kind of new in Bayport. We came out Bayport Avenue, and this is the traffic coming towards us. That's going west on Montauk Highway. So we're on Montauk Highway. You can kind of see things look pretty similar and pretty different at the same time. That's all kind of changed since I lived here. You can also see out there the little man-made dam going across to make these separate bogs. And you can see how full this lake is. And it's all connected to that stagnant pond that we started a mile or so north of here. And then down here, it's a pretty good flowing stream, isn't it? That's all the groundwater that's just seeping in from all sides, all the way down to here. All right, so from here, it's across a highway to get into Lotus, so that separates that part of the park from this area. I might be able to show you a little bit more of the trail that goes up along this side of these lakes, but otherwise, the Lotus area, we'll call that a separate park. I'm gonna include it in this video, but this is basically the south end of Souci Parks. Okay, so now we're just east of Broadway Avenue on Montauk Highway. This was the old Fire Road access. The gates are now swung wide open. If you are like me and used to come back here as a kid, then high school kid or whatever, then you remember those gates were always locked, and this was more or less a fire road. The regular access to our little party area was to the left some. Now there's a trail, and we'll go over there for a quick look. That trail will take you towards the neighborhoods and straight through to the lake. We're gonna take a little side trip so I can show everybody the old spot we used to party at. So now there's just a network of trails heading south that all pretty much run into each other. I'm riding my little bike through here. There's this big tree that fell down in the path here, but there are enough people coming through here that there's a path worn around it. Not a very good one, but there we go. Here's a new area. Looks like a smaller group of kids has figured out, well, if they set it further back and have smaller groups, they can hang out here. They're not even leaving very much trash. These are some intelligent people making a party out in the woods. See, ours were stupid. We had 300 people right next to the highway with a giant fire. The police always came and chased us all away. But this woods back here is really beautiful and some really nice trails going through. I believe it's being incorporated into Souci Parks. It's just not officially there yet. But one of the big misconceptions, as I said before, of this whole area It's just that people think that it's illegal to be here. It's not. It's just, it's public land. They're fire roads. You're allowed to go on the fire roads. Here's a little bridge for the fire road across this little arm of the lake. And in a few seconds I'm gonna go this way, and in a few seconds we'll get a view of the lake. See here, you can see here a little trail leading to that fence over there. The people, there's a neighborhood over there, and most of those houses have a little trail leading out into the woods here. Here is a little fishing landing. First view of the pond, of the lake, Lotus Lake. This is like a little sort of an arm to almost a stream, but not really. Main trail follows the fire road down to the south end of the lake. The lake is on my left. Can't really see it through all the trees, but this isn't a very big place, so we're gonna turn this corner and I'll show you a couple things up here. Okay, this trail leading south, it meanders over to the train tracks, and I investigated. Across the train tracks there is another trail leading into Roosevelt Estate. I'm not sure it goes all the way through or if you run into a fence, but you could take this, and the trail goes along the Browns River a little bit over there. And over here, we're at Lotus. I'll give you one more shot from the other end here. We're on the little trail still on the south shore of the lake, pulling up to the stream. And now again, you can see here. Remember I showed you the headwaters of this stream at Souci. I make my way across this little bridge, pick up my bicycle, and you can see here that's a pretty decent flow of water. Remember what we started out with? Nothing. And just over the course of about a mile it's built up into this. Just from, like I said, not exactly springs, just the water table feeds into this. I mean, you could call that a spring, but it's more like a seep. Well, it looks like somebody cleaned up a little. I'll tell you, if you're fishing here, whoever's been dropping all these bait boxes all over the place is really annoying. Please don't litter. There's even a garbage bag that one of the locals set up. Alright, so it's a little windy, but I'll give you a nice pan of Lotus Lake here. And it sounds like some kids are on their way. We're going to go out that way into Bayport. So now we're heading towards Bayport. The lake is right behind me. And this little offshoot will take you to an overlook of the tracks. But don't go down to the tracks there. It's not good access. And if you are going to go into Roosevelt, back where I showed you, cross the tracks very carefully. Go directly across the tracks. Don't hang out there. The railroad will get mad at you. But some good news, the two kids that just came in here, the older kid was, I think, babysitting a very small kid, and he said the small guy has been going swimming in there still. And the edge, you know, the water's clean, it's just a little bit of stuff growing. And it's, you know, at the edge it is clear enough to swim. If 20 people, 10 or 15, even if 5 people went in and kicked around a whole bunch, they'd probably move the water right, move the plants right out of the way. Anyway, here we go. Now we're coming out in this little dead end, which I'll show you just in case you need to find it. You take McConnell Ave south from Montauk and take a right on Lotus Road, and at the end of Lotus Road you'll see this. And just be aware that I'm going to spin around here and show you because it's a little confusing. That's a driveway, That's the entrance at somebody's house. So you go that way, not that way. Just right through there. And now we're back at the spot where the road splits in Bayport. Leads to the Bayport neighborhoods. Take this right down to the headwaters, if you could really call it that. Oh, some deep sand here. Be careful. That's another little side trail, but really buggy. And we're back at the water. So now you've seen just about everything there is to see out here. And hopefully you'll be encouraged to get out here yourself if you're on Long Island. If you're not, well, hopefully you like seeing someplace a little different from what you're used to. But yeah, I really encourage you Long Islanders, and especially people in the Sayville, Bayport, Patchogue area, to get out here. It's beautiful, and far too few people are taking advantage of this. Now I've seen a few people pass me on mountain bikes. Everybody says they ride here all the time. There are no signs saying that you can't. I strongly suggest if you do ride a bike back here, just be courteous. Be courteous to the people on foot, and we won't have a problem, and we'll be able to ride bikes back here forever. Alright, hope you had a good time with me out here. I'm getting ready to head back to California. It was really fun to show you the little piece of woods that I started out in.